Welcome back to CuriousVerse. Today we open the final chapter of a story that began with smoke rising above Rome. You've walked with us through silent corridors, shifting shadows, and whispers of destiny. Now, it's time to witness what came next. This is not just the end of a series, it's the beginning of a legacy. In today's episode, we reveal the first days of Pope Leo XIV's leadership. His first actions, his first words, the signs that the world didn't ignore. Get ready to experience the weight of history, one decision at a time. This is The Legacy Begins. He chose the name Leo, not by chance, not by tradition, but as a whisper from history, echoing through the sacred halls. The last to carry that name was Pope Leo XIII, a man of vision, wisdom, and peace. By choosing Leo, the new pope aligns himself with a legacy of intellect and reform. It was a signal to the church, to the world, a name that roars with courage, yet speaks in humility. Reporters rushed to decode it. Theologians speculated. But one thing was clear. This pope had a message, and he sent it with a single word. And then he spoke. His first words as pope were not grand, they were not political, they were human. He began with a prayer, not for power, but for mercy. He asked the world not to look at him, but to look through him, to find something older than politics, deeper than strategy, a voice of faith, of service. For the crowds in St. Peter's Square, it wasn't just a speech. It was a pause in history. No slogans, no chants, just silence. And then, tears. The cameras flashed. But the moment was still. From Latin America to Africa, from rooftops in Manila to balconies in Rome, people listened. And in that moment, the world remembered that power doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it whispers. He didn't make grand proclamations, he made gestures. In his first days as Pope, Leo the Catholic chose silence more than speeches. He visited a hospital unannounced. He blessed a child with leukemia. No cameras. He returned to the guest house where he had slept before the conclave and thanked the staff by name. He walked alone at night in the Vatican gardens. No guards, no photographers, just prayer. And when he met with the Swiss guards, he smiled and said, "I'm not your king, I'm your brother." These weren't headlines. They were whispers of what was coming. Signs of a road not paved with gold, but with footsteps. Footsteps of service. The world was not silent. From the moment Leo XV stood at that balcony, the ripples reached far beyond Rome. In the streets of Manila, candles were lit. In São Paulo, cathedrals rang their bells. In New York, television anchors paused mid-sentence. And in Nairobi, children prayed for peace. It wasn't just a papal moment, it was a global breath. Not one of fear or doubt, but of curiosity and strange hope. A hope born not from promises, but from presence. From the quiet power of a man who had yet to speak in full sentences, and was already being heard. The press tried to measure him. Headlines called him the humble lion. Social media moved fast, hashtags in 10 languages, questions in 1,000 tongues. But one thing was clear. In a world drowning in noise, his silence stood out. And it was louder than words. He didn't seek the spotlight, but somehow the spotlight followed him. In corridors where popes are usually met with formality, Leo Caterino moved with familiarity. In rooms filled with silence, his presence became the voice. He asked for no throne, he sought no crown, but the invisible things, reverence, kindness, simplicity, began to gather around him. There was no grand announcement, no decree shouted from the balconies, yet the church began to move. Priests spoke softer, bishops waited longer before speaking, families prayed longer before sleeping. Some said it was too early to judge, others said it was too quiet to notice. But those who were truly watching knew. Something was shifting. Not loud, not sudden, but real. It was not scripted. No grand gesture had been planned, but as the sun began to lower behind St. Peter's Basilica, something extraordinary happened. The Pope stepped onto the central balcony, not to speak, not to command, but simply to bow. And in that moment, the world fell still. A dove rose above the dome, as if sent from the silence itself. The crowd, thousands strong, made no sound, no applause, no chants, just awe. Phones were lowered, eyes were lifted, tears came, not from spectacle, but from spirit. In an age where noise fills the sacred, Leo XIV closed his eyes and let silence preach. A silence that roared louder than any sermon. A silence that healed, united, remembered. To those who've walked with us through this journey, thank you. This story does not end here. It begins with you. Share it. Speak it. Live it. Subscribe to CuriousVerse and help us echo these truths across generations. Because sometimes, what changes the world doesn't shout, it bows.